If you grew up in the UK in the 1980s, you know that Amstrad was a byword for a crappy product. Well, I've got two Amstrad items on the bench today, and the question I have to ask myself is, do we step it? Oder the Amstrad CPC, is it worth a look? Let's find out. My name is Jess. This is my tech department. Los geht's! Now, I bought this Amstrad CPC for just £40. I thought it was a bargain, so I grabbed it, but it came with, well, absolutely nothing, just the computer. Well, that's not true. It did come with a copy of Spannerman, a game I'm unfamiliar with, so this'll be fun. Now, this particular Amstrad CPC is not in the best of conditions, if I'm honest. It's pretty dirty. I already can see that the motherboard is bowing a little bit where this internal speaker is catching. However, getting inside this machine, and I'm hoping working on it, is actually fairly simple. To begin with, we just have to take out the 6 screws on the back, and I'm being very good today. I'm putting a little tray down so I can capture my screws, because I thought it would be, nice to reuse them again rather than losing one. Hobbyists, you know what I mean. The screws are pretty standard fare, they're just simple Phillips screws, and they come out fairly easily. With the case screws out, all we have to do now is lift up, but gently. There are still cables inside the machine we will need to disconnect. On the right hand side, you can see we have the main power supply. This links to the tape deck, and we need to release that so we can get that out of the way. On the left hand side, we have 2 keyboard cables, and we need to be really careful with these ribbon cables so they don't tear. Fortunately, these are in really good condition, so it's just a matter of lifting it out gently, and then the machine, well, the top half just lifts away. With the top case taken away, I actually find 2 things very interesting. 1, this machine is absolutely filthy on the inside, ew, but 2, it's really well laid out. Everything is, well, there's space. You can see various custom chips like ROM, this Z80 CPU, and the other custom chip on the CPC, of course, the ULA. This basically ties everything together, I suppose. Below that, you'll see some 64K RAM, and the machine is actually really nice and simple to work on. At least it seems to. For now, well, let's get that motherboard out, and that's as simple as taking out the motherboard screws, and they are just simple. Apparently, I need 2 shots at this, so we just take it out, and well, it's a bit stiff, but they do come away in the end. With the board out, I am genuinely surprised to see the size of this. No wonder it was so large, that case. It wasn't just for the keyboard. However, what I do see is a lot, and I mean a lot of dirt. So let's start by trying to clean up those edge connectors, and generally just give the board a nice clean and hopefully bring it back to something normal looking. The other thing that is cool but kind of alarms me is that a lot of those traces on the top of the board, well, there's no protection on them, so I have to be really careful when I'm cleaning. So let's begin with a little isopropyl alcohol. As you can see, it's it's in the way of my hand, but that is pretty filthy. This is going to take a while. While the main board is drying out, I need to access the keyboard, and to do that I just need to undo this cable tie that's holding down the wiring for the tape deck and main power supply so I can access the rest of the screws for the keyboard. Like the motherboard and the outer case, it's just a matter of removing a few screws here. And I want to take the keyboard out so I can give A, the case a good scrub, and B, get those keys off the keyboard and get it cleaned up. I imagine, given the state of the motherboard, that inside here is not any cleaner. So yeah, let's make sure everything is neat and tidy and clean before we reassemble this machine. Although let's do it at a quicker pace than this. With all the screws out, to release the keyboard, all we have to do is take the earthing point away and we're good. Next up, let's take this tape drive out, and again it's just a matter of a few screws and we can remove it from the case. Turning back to the keyboard, sure enough, as I remove the membrane, well, all I can say is how many dust bunnies can live under one keyboard. This is all going to have to be cleaned thoroughly, so yay. Now, the machine didn't come with a monitor, but as luck would have it, I tracked down this monitor in France for a hefty €10. It was sold as not working, and the first job I wanted to tackle actually before testing it was to clean it. This had obviously been in a smoker's household because it is covered in nicotine, and despite the dark grey case, the yellow hue that I found on it was solely down to nicotine. Heavy. Now, the monitor was sold for $10 not working, and well, what do you want for the money? However, I thought I'd take a chance and plug it in and give it a try anyway. And wouldn't you know it, it actually produced a raster. Look, the screen is up and running. We get a green flicker there. We can adjust the vertical and horizontal height or whatnot. So what's not actually working here? Let's take a look. Well, grabbing a multimeter, it turns out it's the machine's power supply that's not working. You see, Amstrad bundled the monitor together with the Amstrad computer, and the monitor provided the 5 volts to run the computer. A brilliant idea, but apparently useless here. Now, let's open it up and see if we can work out what exactly is going wrong as to why we're not getting that 5 volts. Getting into the monitor is as easy as, well, getting into the CPC was. There are 2 big screws at the front, one on either side, and a further 2 at the back of the monitor. Undo these and then lift the monitor case off and you're good to go. Now, at this point, it's fair to warn people that CRTs have high voltages in them and they can kill you if you don't know what you're doing. I'm lucky enough, I managed to do my electronics training just at the point where CRTs were being phased out, so I know how to work in them, but if you're uncomfortable in any way, please don't. Now, to release the board, I have to release a few cables, including these here, and then I can get that main board out. And I think I may have found the problem. Yes, it looks like our board has broken. There's a huge piece out, and guess what this controls? Yes, it's the 5 volt and 12 volt lines for the external power supplies. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, although the board has separated there and there are numerous other cracks, it's actually not terrible news. Everything seems to be still in place, and I'm fairly certain with a bit of glue and hard work we can get this back together. So let's give it a go. Okay, so it's the next day, and the plan is, well, originally I wanted to leave this overnight so that it would discharge and I could take the board out. However, I think I can probably work on it where it is. So the plan is we're going to take this bit here and we're going to glue that back with some 2-part epoxy. And then I think we're going to have to take this out, glue this piece back in, and then we can resolder. The rest of it, I think it's actually fine. Then it's a matter of connecting up the broken traces and hoping it all works. So let's go, los Gehts. Okay, so let's start with our epoxy. It's a 2-part system. It's just a matter of popping it in this handy little tray, mixing it up, and then getting it onto our motherboard. And well, that's easier said than done. So it's kind of like in a mini spatula and spreading it on there, and then holding it until it cures, which should be about 5 minutes. I say should be because it kind of hit and miss. If you don't mix it properly, it can be a bit slower or may not cure at all. Either way, slowly and surely, we managed to get the board, let's call it, back together. Of course, getting the pieces of the PCB in one kind of intact piece is only half the battle. You see, we're going to have a lot of cut traces here. Now, a lot of them are across earths, but I'm going to have to trace them out and then get some bodge wires in there to reconnect areas. So let's crack on with that. So to help out, I crack out my little Dremel and grind away a few areas where I hope I can solder together to make a good connection. However, honestly, the Dremel, no matter what speed you put it on and how careful you are, is a little too fierce. Also, the plan I had to just dab a bit of solder and it'll bridge the gaps, it didn't quite work, so I'm just going to have to cope with wires, I'm afraid. And there we go. Now, despite this being a relatively small area of the board to reconnect, it actually took quite a bit of time and quite a few more bodge wires than I expected to make sure this was all working. Nonetheless, slowly and surely, the board started to come back together and get into a working state, although I must say that the end result, the wiring is, well, let's just say it's not pretty, and I think we can all agree on that. However, it does work, which is what's important. Take a look. I mean, yeah, there's not going away from the fact that's got a face for radio. Nonetheless, it's together and working, so let's cross our fingers and hope it'll actually translate into a standard 5-volt power supply. Fingers crossed time, and yeah, let's plug it in. Well, the first good news is there's no smoke, so that's good. The supply is center positive, so I've popped in the positive lead of my multimeter there to the center barrel, and let's touch the negative to the outside, and I believe that says 5 volts. Let's hold it steady. There you go, 5.2 volts. Success! We have a good 5-volt power supply. Does it work? Now, we can now check our Amstrad CPC, so let's plug that in and see what happens. Feeling a rush of pride at getting it working, I make my biggest mistake I've ever made on camera, and I thought I'd leave it in to show you. Now, as you can see, I've connected up the CPC to the monitor here. It's got the monitor plugged in, it's got the power supply plugged in, and I hopefully switch it on and discover the machine's not working. How terrible. Of course, most CPC users would realize that the power switch is attached to the tape deck, and it's not plugged in, so I can't switch the machine on. What an idiot. Yeah, I'm leaving this in because, you know what, we all make mistakes, and yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. And speaking of mistakes, there's another one coming. Oh, I think I'm going to lie down. Okay, let's stop the video at this point. I thought I had footage of me sorting out various traces and whatever, and I don't. Either I forgot to record it, forgot to push record, or I deleted it. I suspect I've probably forgotten to push record. So let's pick the action up, well, here, and I'll let voiceover me carry on and tell us what's gone wrong. Over to you. So this is our non-functional Amstrad CPC. So what's going on? So we have no signal coming out of the back. Okay, it's just black. Now, fortunately, I've been able to watch a couple of Noel's Retro Lab videos. He knows the Amstrad CPC inside and out. And from that, I've gleaned a couple of things. So our black signal is essentially driven by our gate array, which tells the CPU to work, which also then tells this chip over here, which you can't see, but this chip here, down there, underneath that, tells us that's the video generation chip. So we need to look at what signals coming out of it. Now, fortunately, this board is really easy to work on, and whilst our gate array is there, this is for a different kind of gate array that does the same job that we don't have, but the pins are available so we can check it. So I'm going to check pin 15, which should be our vertical sync, and if I do that, well, we get a signal, but it's not right.
And pin 14 should be the vertical sync or horizontal sync. And that is where I can see we've got a problem. Now, what you would normally expect, you would see specific ripple timing, and this just seems to be high. There's a little noise on it, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. If I go to pin 40, that gives us our clock signal, and whilst that doesn't look great, that's actually generating a clock perfectly fine. 39, same thing. The oscilloscope is not the best, but it's working. Now, I can scope out the CPU. So, it says, Noel said, check if you have pins 27 and 28 activity. So this pin 30 there, 29, 28. Well, actually, that's not doing anything. Oh no, wait, there we are. 28, yep, normal activity. 27, normal activity. So we're getting stuff. And here, well, that's loading high on pin 20. Normal activity there. Pin 21 here is, I think, the right pin. The CPU is functional. Right, now, let me just move. So let's take a look and see if we've got the right signals coming out of our video sync, our video chip. Okay, so the two signals we need are pin 39 and pin 40 on the video chip. So if I touch pin 40, oh, you can see we've got our vertical sync, but that's pretty messed up. And then our horizontal sync, yeah, it's the same floating high. It's not actually doing anything. What does that tell us? Honestly, don't know. If I go there, well, that's our clock signal, and that seems to be working fine, as far as we can tell. So it's getting the clock signal to generate that, but it's not generating it correctly. Now, having checked the schematics, the only other place it goes is up to here, which I don't think is going to cause our problem. I can check our RAM, but honestly, I've run through that, and there's nothing really that seems very odd. If I look at the car signal here, there, fine. Yep, also good. Fine. Yep, no problem. Fine. Oh. Well, that one's a little different, but it's still receiving data. This one, actually the same as the one above. Yeah, every one of them seems to be doing something. I can do the read pin here, right pin. There's data being transmitted in and out of these, it seems. There you go. So, what can I do to fix it? Well, I think the first thing I need to do is I need to desocket this RAM, because it could be a RAM problem, but I don't think it is, but I will remove the RAM, socket it, and we'll also remove this and socket that as well. So I'll do that off camera because I'm feeling pretty crappy today. When we come back, we'll have that, and we'll see if we can glean anything from that, and certainly we can test our RAM chips.
So first up, you see I have socketed all the RAM, and let me tell you what a pain in the backside that was. Not because the RAM is particularly difficult to get off, although I did manage to break one trace. That was fine, but I had the worst 16-pin sockets to do this. They appear to be just slightly too large for the holes, and therefore when you try to add the socket in, it would push a pin or two up easily. It just popped out. So I managed to cobble together enough to get the job done, but I've got to find some better suppliers of 16-pin dill sockets. If anyone has any links, let me know in the comments below. And here's our missing chip. Now then, as it happens, this encoder chip is found in lots of different things, including the BBC Micro, which I happen to have. So I did a quick check, and it actually confirmed, yes, our original video chip is broken. So I ordered some new video chips, and yeah, you can still buy them. I got these on eBay. I ordered two. I think they cost 14 euros for the two. So let me just add one of these and see if they are actually working. It's very well packaged. And yeah, we've got some Hitachi ones. So
there. Let's see if this will do the job. All right, we've got it wired up. Let's see. I'm gonna switch the machine on. Wish us luck. Well, it sees a signal. But no, that did not work. Well, now that's disappointing. No, wait, there it is. Haha, yes, it works. It works. I'm so happy. In all its blue and yellow gorgeousness, the Amstrad CPC works. Let's get it put together and see if it'll actually load the game. I'm excited now. So our machine is back together, and the burning question of the day that I really want to know is A, does this machine work? And B, does the game that came with it, Mr. Spanner Man, actually work as well? So let's find out. Now, I've not loaded a game with an Amstrad before, so let's see. First, do we actually have a screen? Yes, that all works. Right, load. I'm gonna go load. I'm gonna go with the Spectrum style of it and go comma, comma, and see if that does thing. Press play, then a key. Okay, good news, the tape deck is working. Nothing yet. Oh dear. Oh, wait. Loading Spannerman block 1. Yes, it works. Oh, I wonder if this will actually go all the way. We'll see now. I will say the internal speaker is not sounding the greatest there. Very hissy and crackly, and that's before we even get near the game. Nonetheless, it's working. Why don't we come back and see if this loads properly in a second. Okay, it just says ready. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Do I hit run or has this failed? Oh, it failed. Oh, what a shame. Let's give it one more try. Okay, so this is actually looking a little more interesting. It's now loading. I tried run. I'm also using the other side of the tape, so maybe that makes a difference. Who knows? Well, now there it is. Spannerman. It actually works. Okay, instructions. Your local power station has had a major failure. The nuclear reactor cooling system has been damaged during an earthquake. There have been some problems with the repairs, and you, the village plumber, have been called in to assist. Now, I feel like if it's repairing a nuclear power plant, this might be above the village plumber's job, but okay. The pipes containing the coolant are developing leaks from many of the joints in the system. Your job is to cure the leaks using your trusty spanner and save the nearby town from almost certain disaster. There are, however, some dangers to be wary of before you begin your mission. Oh dear, and it goes on. Fortunately, I'm wearing my steel toe cap boots. Well, that's good to know. Right, options. Keyboard AZ. Okay. See if I remember to do this in the world before. WSAD, WASD. Fire with spacebar, left and right, up and down. Okay, yeah. Come on, man. Let's go for it. No, I don't need to change the controls. That's fine. Okay. Difficulty 1. Okay. Wait, what? Do I stand next to it? Hey, alright, he's got one. Oh, hang on, there's one over here. Oh, wait. Yeah. Really, he's... Okay, we gotta go down. We're gonna have to go down.
How do I go down? Come on. Okay, I got it. Come on, Spider-Man. No, don't run away. Ah. Come on. What the hell is that? And also, this is the easy level. Oh, yeah, that's enough of that. Yes, it's Dizzy, Magic Land Dizzy. I happened to come across this in a box. I didn't know I had any other CPC games, but I found it. And yeah, it works. Let's turn that down. Ah, that comes straight out of the TV. That's cool. All right. Oh, look. It's Dizzy with no color clash. And, okay, ZX, yeah. There he is. That Amstrad, that Yamaha chip is doing wonders there, isn't it? How do I pick up a key? Oops, too far. Where that crystal? I found a diamond. Hurry! I wonder when the first thing's going to kill me, because it will. There you go. You fell in the water and drowned. You lose a life. Well, this doesn't look promising. It's interesting though, you can hear the sound slowing down at certain sections. Oh wait, there's a diamond bullet. And I'm in the water again now. And I got killed by a ghost. Okay, I think it's fair to say this machine is fixed, and I'm terrible at Amstrad CPC games. Well, there we have it. The Amstrad CPC is back together and working perfectly. And, well, I must say I have a greater appreciation for this machine now than I did coming into this repair. Amstrad really was a byword in the 80s for a pretty poor type of product. And I must say the CPC bucks that trend and then some. From the inclusion of a great proper keyboard, the color-coded keys making things easy to spot, the built-in tape deck that saves you having to cable everything up, the supplied monitor, either the color or the monochrome that just gave you 2 cables, plug it into the wall, and you're up and running, and perhaps my most favorite thing of all, a power switch. Why is the power switch so important? Well, if you've owned a ZX Spectrum, you've probably broken a ZX Spectrum simply by plugging in that power jack. Trust me, I blew up more than a few of them when I was younger just by plugging it in and a RAM chip would fail and off to repair it would go. This does away with all of that. It makes it so much easier, and on top of that, there's no color clash with games. So even if a game looks like it might be similar to a ZX Spectrum, and honestly, a lot of games for the CPC were just coded across from the ZX Spectrum, this still does it better. The AY3 sound chip provides a better sound than the ZX Spectrum. You get the idea. But given the 64 kilobit of memory on board, it's also pretty good at beating the Commodore 64. And the C64 only wins for me really with the inclusion of the SID chip. Otherwise, this machine is incredibly capable. And I think had I had one of these in the 80s rather than the ZX Spectrum, I think I would have loved this all the more. All that's left to say now though is thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making this video. And when it comes to old computers like these, please don't e-waste them, even if you think they're junk, even if you think they're rubbish and not worthy of saving. Someone like me, and you'll know them. They will be a friend of yours or a friend of a friend, will have more fun with this machine than an e-waste tip is going to have throwing it away. Because once these things are gone, they're not going to come back. So remember, reuse, rediscover, and recycle if you have to. But have fun, and you never know. You might find your own Amstrad CPC 464 just waiting for you to come along and clean it back up and get it working. My name is Jess. This has been my tech department. Cheers.